Every year in late May, in Canada's biggest cities, tens of thousands of people, mostly from Canada's Jewish community, are joined by politicians, media figures, and centrist identitarian liberals to march in what they call the Walk with Israel. They wave flags and claim that it's about the Jewish community, but what they're really doing is celebrating an illegal annexation and expressing open solidarity with a genocidal settler colonial state. That's not hyperbole. That's not opinion. That's what it is. And if you're at that event, you're sponsoring it, endorsing it, or standing shoulder to shoulder with it. You are not neutral. You are complicit. The Walk with Israel was popularized in the 1970s and is deliberately timed to align with Jerusalem Day, the Israeli holiday commemorating the 1967 military conquest of East Jerusalem. That conquest is illegal under international law. It has never been recognized by the UN or any credible legal authority. But every year, Israel marks it with nationalist flag parades through the Muslim quarter of Jerusalem's Old City, where young men scream death to Arabs, smash up shops, and chase Palestinians out of their homes under the protection of about 3,000 armed soldiers. Canada's version of this isn't violent in the same way. It's not supposed to be. It's the liberal arm of the same project. It's settler colonialism with a face painter and a klezmer band. But the politics are identical. It celebrates the very same event, the same military occupation, and the same apartheid regime. And this year, they marched almost 2 years into the Gaza genocide. We're now 18 months into a military campaign where over 50,000 Palestinians have been killed, thousands of them children. Israel has bombed hospitals, flattened refugee camps, targeted journalists, blocked aid, and intentionally starved the population. It has done this openly, with American and Canadian political cover, with diplomatic immunity, and with moral cover from events like this one. Because Walk with Israel isn't just a celebration, it's a shield. It turns apartheid into heritage. It turns genocide into ethnic pride. And it gives politicians a safe place to endorse genocide and war crimes while posing for photo ops. This is a Canadian problem not just because it happens here, but because it's funded here. Canada is one of the largest foreign donors to Israeli charities, with Jewish Canadian institutions raising over $100 million for Israel in just the first 2 weeks since October 7th. That money funds the military, the settlements, and it keeps the genocide going. And it's raised by the same community institutions that organize Walk with Israel. This is not an abstract connection. It's a very clear pipeline. Donations, lobbying, rallies, and the public pressure are all a part of the infrastructure of support for Israel in this country. These aren't fringe actors. These are major community federations, legacy media figures, political parties, and donors with high access to power. And when you see that many of the same people and organizations who condemn any protests outside of a synagogue as hate speech are also organizing this march for a settler colonial ethnostate, the hypocrisy is impossible to ignore. There is a clear double standard in how political expression is policed in Canada. In 2019, Toronto City Council moved to investigate the Al-Quds Day rally for potential hate speech. The motion explicitly asked police to review placards, pamphlets, and even people's clothing to find possible violations or implications of hate speech. The rally was nonviolent. The only threat that it posed was against the apartheid regime of Israel, and that threat was merely symbolic, a simple Palestinian-led protest against the occupation of Jerusalem, criminalized by the state. But Walk with Israel gets police escorts, public funding, corporate sponsorships, and the mayor's blessing, even though it's time to celebrate the same military conquest that sparked the Al-Quds Day protest in the first place. When Palestinians resist, it's hate. When Israel colonizes, it's culture. This is how colonialism functions in liberal societies. The oppressed are criminalized for speaking out, and the occupiers are normalized, even celebrated for what they do. This is about power. And Walk with Israel is a public expression of who hasn't and who doesn't. It's also important to say that this is not about Jewish identity. It's about political choices made by individuals, communities, and institutions. Nobody is complicit for just being Jewish, but if you raise money for the IDF, if you lobby against ceasefires, if you march for a state carrying out genocide, then you're not just a bystander. You're a part of it. That's why events like Walk with Israel matter. They're not just symbolic, they're how this complicity is made public, accepted, and reaffirmed. It's how Canadian liberalism reconciles itself to genocide by turning it into a family affair. And the people who challenge this, Palestinian organizers, Jewish anti-Zionists, critics, activists, and journalists alike, are smeared as bigots for pointing out the obvious. That's the role of identity politics in liberal democracy, to shield state violence from criticism by making it untouchable. To call out a rally for apartheid becomes anti-Semitism. To protest outside a building used to sell settlement real estate becomes hate. But to publicly celebrate an illegal annexation, that's just heritage. If you care about justice, you must reject this framing, because there is no neutral way to march for Israel. Not in the past, and especially not in the present. There's no apolitical way to sponsor an event that celebrates colonial conquest while Gaza is in ruins. Walk with Israel is not benign, it is not harmless. It is the Canadian face of apartheid, a feel-good spectacle for genocide. And if you're in that crowd, smiling and waving the flag, you are choosing a side. You don't have to be. You can leave. You can listen. You can dissent. Because history won't remember why people marched. It will remember who marched, who cheered while people starved, and who stayed silent, all because it felt comfortable. So no, Walk with Israel is not about community. It's about complicity. And that's the truth, whether you can handle it or not.